Week 13 of the NFL season is here. Today I got my 3 favorite spread picks and 2 extra leans for Sunday's slate of NFL action. Before I dive into my favorite picks this week, let's talk about last week's video. It was 2-1 overall in that video. We had the Jaguars covering, had the Bengals covering. They both get it done. The Buccaneers was looking so good till they gave up a touchdown, ended up losing in overtime. Our leans go 1-1. Be sure if you're new, my name is Austin from Calling a Shot. Go down below, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button too, and comment down below what your guys' favorite spread pick or over-under pick is this weekend. Now, our parlays and player props video, which you guys absolutely love, that'll be live Saturday evening. If it's already live, I'll link it in the description down below. And since I am recording this and posting it on Thursday, our Bills versus Patriots best bets video is already live on the channel. You can go check that out. It'll all be linked down below. If you need any Sportsbook sign-up bonuses, all linked down below in the description. Everything is there. Let's hop into my first pick of this weekend, and I'm going to one of the biggest showdowns this weekend. I'm going with the 49ers, minus 3.5 as they take on the Miami Dolphins. Now, this is minus 118 on FanDuel, and I do believe a couple books have this at 4. Some have it at 3.5. I think the line will end up at 3.5 by kickoff on Sunday. Now, this is a big-time matchup with your first-year head coach Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins traveling to San Francisco to take on his former team, the 49ers. And here's why I lean the 49ers. Now, the 49ers are obviously the home team. I like to back home teams more so than away teams. The Dolphins having to travel all the way from Miami to San Francisco. This is the beginning of a 3-game road trip for the Dolphins. Now, so far this year, the Dolphins have really impressed people. This will be their first road game since November 6th, so they haven't played on the road in a hot minute, but 7-3 on the year. They are only 3-2 straight up and 2-3 against the spread on the road this season. While as you look at a 49ers team is hot as well. They're 7-4 overall this year, 4-1 at home. They're coming off an ugly, but still a win, 13-0 against New Orleans Saints. Now, 49ers also 3-2 against the spread at home, so they've been pretty decent, and I expect points to be scored in this game. I don't think you go into any Dolphins game, you're like, this is probably a 13-0 game. That's probably not going to happen. The Dolphins do put up points, but they also do give up a lot of points, and I think this game comes down to the defenses, and I like the 49ers defense much more than I like the Dolphins defense. Now, 49ers have a great defense, do have some injuries, but have a great defense led by their defensive coordinator, D'Amico Ryans. Probably gets a head coaching job this offseason, and I just think they're going to be able to limit, I put in quotations, because this Dolphins offense has been great this year, but I think they'll be able to make it life difficult on them. Now, for 49ers defense, first in total yards allowed, first in points per game allowed, and if they can force this Dolphins team into kicking field goals, they should be fine. They should be able to score some points against that Miami defense. Look, they have the pass rush, and this is how you see a team like the 49ers have a lot of success on defenses, because a lot of times they're just rushing 3 or 4 guys and just sitting back in coverage, and I think that might make life difficult on Tua Tagovailoa, making him kind of throw it into tight windows. He's been doing it all season long, but could he make a mistake or two? That could be the difference here. I just like the 49ers at home, only laying 3.5 points. I think they're a little bit better. They're a more experienced team than this Dolphins team, which is going onto the road in a hostile environment. I think you'll see a 49ers team game plan for this Dolphins offense, knowing kind of what they're going to run, because the Dolphins obviously are running a very similar scheme to what the 49ers are running themselves. Give me the home team, minus the 3.5 points. Now, before I move into my second pick, I need to change it to a different shirt. Yes, we have a Jets jersey on, and at surface level, you might think, oh, he's riding with the Jets. But if you turn around, you will see Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, will be my third pick, as I'm taking them minus 3 as they're at home taking on the New York Jets. Now, don't question why I have a Kevin O'Connell jersey. He did play for the New York Jets as a quarterback, a backup QB, obviously during his playing career. But here's why, and it pains me to pick against the Jets, but I think it has to be done here, as the Jets are 7-4, traveling on the road to Minnesota. The Vikings 9-2 have been this is kind of a game of two teams that people didn't really have high hopes for this season, but have really turned it around. Now, I anticipate Mike White to be the starting QB for the New York Jets on Sunday. After what he did last Sunday, it'd be crazy for the Jets to not start him, although it is the New York Jets. They do what they make crazy seem not crazy. This is what they do. But I just think we're going to look at Mike White take a little bit of regression in this game. Mike White looked great last week, but he got to do it against the Chicago Bears, one of the worst secondaries in the league. And on top of that, they were missing a lot of their star safeties and corners. So the Vikings secondary hasn't been great this year, but has a lot more talent than what he had to see last week against the Bears. We've seen Mike White have great flashes, and then the next game he stinks. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see Mike White. I'm not saying he's going to throw 9 interceptions. And actually, he's thrown 4 in one of his starts last season. But I just think he's a little bit of regression. And this Minnesota Vikings offense has the firepower to score against a very good New York Jets defense so far this year. We're seeing the Vikings coming off obviously they got spanked a couple weeks back by the Cowboys. Impressive win against the Patriots at home, 33-26, scoring a lot of points against a very good Patriots defense, and the Vikings offense can score points against anyone. This Jets secondary has been great. Sauce Gardner will have his hands full with Justin Jefferson, and it might literally have his hands full. I love Sauce, but plays a little aggressive. Wouldn't be surprised to see him called for some defensive pass interferences on Justin Jefferson, who he likely matches up a lot against. And Adam Thielen, TJ Hawkinson's been a great addition, and KJ Osborne, Dalvin Cook on the ground. They couldn't get anything on the ground going last week. He had like 22 carries for 40 yards. I think they get a little bit more production out of him this week. And the Jets secondary, I think their numbers are a little bit inflated due to who they had to face so far this year. They've only faced 3 top 10 passing offenses, and in those matchups, they faced the Bengals. They lost by 15 points. They faced the Bills in that game where Josh Allen got injured, still played, but still got injured a little bit in that one. The Jets won that one by 3 points, and then they faced the Dolphins without Tua Tagovailoa, had to face Skylar Thompson. I'm not even counting that game when the Jets won by 23 points. I just think the Jets they played well on the road, but they faced very bad competition in the Browns, the Steelers, the Packers, the Broncos, and the Patriots. And the Patriots was the only game they lost on the road. I just think the Jets' luck catches up to them. I love what they're doing so far this season. I don't necessarily think they win this game. I think they lose to the Vikings. I think the Vikings are the better, more all-around team. Kirk Cousins a lot more experience, and while these two head coaches don't have a ton of experience, I think Kevin O'Connell brings in a good game plan. I think they can certainly get it done. So give me the Minnesota Vikings. As hard as it is to bet them, I want to take them -3. Maybe a hedge on excitement as a Jets fan, but I just don't think this matchup suits them too well. Give me the Vikings -3 points. As my third and final play, I'm going to go to a line read of the week before we dive into 2 leans. I'm going to take the Texans, +7.5, -115 on BetMGM as they take on the Browns. Now, everyone knows this game as it is the return of Deshaun Watson, and of course, the NFL luckily got it when the Browns have to play the Houston Texans in Houston. And if there's ever a game for the Texans to be competitive, it's going to be this one. This is the game that they have to show up in. And if they don't, then oh well. I'll take the L on my chin. And this will be the last time I back the Texans. But the Texans have lost 6 games in a row by 18, 7, 12, 8, 13, and 15 points. The books are not afraid to put a big number on a team facing the Texans. I mean, you saw them do it last week, the 14 or 15 point spread for the Dolphins. They're not afraid to do it. The fact that the Browns are only laying 7 points here with arguably, people are expecting big things out of Deshaun Watson. I think it's pretty suspect. Now, the Browns, obviously, you're going to come in with Deshaun Watson, and he's probably going to show some rust. This guy hasn't played in over 2 years, barely practiced really over the last 2 years. So he's going to come in here rusty, and I think the Texans, while their defense isn't great, I won't say they're great. In fact, it's pretty bad. I think they can at least show up a little bit against this Browns team, and it's going to come down to stopping Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. And while I'm not saying Nick Chubb take his unders, probably wouldn't do that, although I would anticipate a lot of people to be on his overs because the Texans have struggled to stop the run. Still, the Texans, at least the rush defense showed up last week, allowing only 2.5 yards per carry versus the Dolphins. Now, Jeff Wilson Jr. did get injured in that game, but still not too shabby, and their defense showed up in the second half. Now, granted, they were down like 30-0 at halftime. At least they showed up in the second half and played well and still played competitively. I think they continue that momentum over into this week, and I just think we look at a Texans team that if you're going to play motivated, you're going to play passionate, you have to show up here. You can't let a guy but the Deshaun Watson, and while a lot of this team and the Texans weren't necessarily around because it's a very young team when Deshaun Watson was there, this is a team he has to show up. This is a guy in Deshaun Watson that kind of made a mockery of this Texans organization over the past 2 years. Just feels like a great spot to back the Texans. I know they stink. They're not a great team, but it's a line read, taking them +7.5. If they get smoked, then oh well. The Browns have not been a team to blow out teams all season long. I don't necessarily think that starts on this weekend. I think the Texans, this might be the last game of the season where they actually, might try to win for something. So give me the Texans +7.5. I don't care who starts at QB. Taking the Texans plus the points. I'd buy the extra half point in case this is a touchdown game. Texans hurt me good. Now let's move on into our 2 leans. The leans have been 10-2 over the past 6 weeks, 1-1 the past 2 weeks. Oh, well, 1-1 each of the last 2 weeks. Let's dive into this first one. It's only a lean. We're not counting them towards a record, but I at least want to talk about them. Talking about the Steelers, and I take them on the money line versus the Falcons. If you wanted my lean in this game, that's what it is. And the Steelers coming off a big-time win against the Colts on Monday Night Football, and they're coming in on short rest, but I don't trust the Falcons. I don't trust either of these teams. These are going to be an interesting matchup. Granted, why it is a pick'em, but the Falcons have been a great team against the spread this year, but they're due some regression, and they can't pass the ball. If you're going to destroy this Steelers defense, you got to pass the ball against them, and they can't do it. They're down Kyle Pitts now, who's out for the year. They want to run the football, and that's been the strength of the Steelers defense. This projects to be a lower scoring game. I'd rather trust Kenny Pickett, Mike Tomlin with many more years of head coaching than Arthur Smith, the other coach for the not from the Tennessee Titans, but for the Atlanta Falcons. If you're going to bet on this one, I really do think the Steelers are the better play. I rather trust them. They got the more experienced head coach. Kenny Pickett's looking pretty solid, and Marcus Mariota in this passing offense. If they go down, the Falcons are screwed. They're just going to keep trying to run the football, and that's just not going to get it done. If the Steelers can get up in this one on the road, I think they can do it. They did it against Indianapolis, who I think is a much better team than the Falcons, even though their records might not say so. I just think the Falcons are just not that great. I'd rather take the Steelers. It's a pick 'em or a favorite on the road for a reason. Give me the Steelers money line if I had to pick it. Now, my second lean, it's going to be a popular play, I'd imagine. Broncos-Ravens. I like the under 39.5 points. Now, as always, it's just a lean. I'm not going to track these win or loss. They don't go towards my record. But the Broncos, what I've seen from them this season, been one of the weirdest things we've ever seen in the NFL over the past, 5-10 years since I've been watching the NFL. I mean, this is very odd. You had Russell Wilson going here, new head coach, Nathaniel Hackett. People expected big things. And this Broncos offense stinks. It has been absolutely terrible. And on the other side, the Ravens offense, let's be honest, not been too good. Now, they scored 27 points last week versus the Jaguars, but they still just barely. I mean, it was an ugly 27 points. I mean, they weren't really cooking too much on offense until kind of that end of the third, fourth quarter. And this is the Broncos defense, which is basically the backbone of this team. If the Broncos defense doesn't show up, they got no chance on Sunday. And I just don't trust how you would take an over in any Broncos game. The Broncos have gone under in 10 of 11 games so far this year. The Ravens gone under 7 of 11 games this year. I just don't see this Ravens offense being able to convert touchdowns. I think they're going to kick a lot of field goals, which they always seem to do with Justin Tucker. And I just don't know if I really trust either of these two teams to punch it into the end zone. So you might see a lot of field goals. The altitude should be good for field goals. I don't really know the weather. It doesn't really matter to me. I just refuse to take an over in either of these two teams at the moment, given the current state of their offenses. So I'd lean the under, 39.5 points. Could go down to 38.5. I don't really know how the line will change. But if I had to bet one in that game, I take the under. I don't want to touch that spread. I don't know how you can trust really either of those teams to really put up points on the scoreboard. So give me the under if I had to bet it. But my 3 official picks, obviously we're taking the 49ers, minus 3.5. We're taking the Vikings, minus 2.5 or minus 3. And we're taking, obviously, the Texans, line read of the week, plus 7.5. Those are my 3 picks. As always, I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in. Our parlays and player props video will be live Saturday evening. I'll link it on the screen if it is already live. If you guys want to go buy some merch, go do it. CallOnOurShot.com. And as always, Bills, Patriots, Best Bets is already live. I'll put it up on the screen. You can go check out that for Thursday Night Football. I'm out. I'll see you guys back here for future videos. Catch you later. Peace out.